So Kathy, just so you know, there's 4 of us here, right? So we have a quorum, that's it?
Okay.
Okay. Well, so far. No, but that's all we'll have. Jill's trying to get out of her reading glasses.
Yeah, I don't even need them. My eyes are so good. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this regular meeting of council to order. First item on our agenda is the public input period. If anyone that wishes to address council at this time, please come forward, state your name, and you have 2 minutes of our time.
Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Eric Hill,
Yes,
and
sir.
I'd like to submit a proposal for the consideration of reimbursement for the trail recreational pass. This is it's a $250 fee, I believe. Our fees for the trail commercial league are $250, so that'll double our fees up to $500, and there is 15 Roslyn citizens involved with the Trail Commercial Hockey League, and we can't afford to pay it. So we're trying to explore our options. And we are aware of the policy that's in place for certain individuals. I believe there's 3 classifications there, under 18, mentally challenged, and over 55, I believe. We don't fall under any of that, but I was hoping that maybe once those candidates were sort of taken care of, if there was money left in that pot, for lack of a better term, we could figure something out for us 15 up here trying to play hockey and trail.
And thanks, Eric. Usually in public input, we don't have a whole bunch of discussion on the thing, but I just say that I empathize with it hugely. I think that we do have a policy, and I know that you're aware of it now. I think that your request will go to staff, and staff will bring it back to us in the short term. But this is a huge issue, without a doubt.
Yes, I understand that for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wishes to address council at the public input period? Anyone else that wishes to address council at the public input period? Seeing none, thank you very much. And thank you, Eric. We'll get something back to you. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I'd just like to, for the record, point out that nomination packages for council are now available, so that if, I know that we don't have a huge, pardon me, sorry, Craig. And school trustee are available right now, so anyone wishing to become involved, packages are out there. Moving right along, a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Spear and seconded by Blumey. Discussion on the agenda. Seeing none. Councilor Blumey.
Do we need to say that we'll need to remove the,
Maybe we should. Because Joey's with the chamber thing, we should move that from the agenda.
from the information?
Should be, Your Worship, it should be amended by removing from the consent calendar item 15E, Chamber of Commerce Service Agreement.
With removing Chamber of Commerce Service Agreement, Councillor Moore, are you all right with that?
Yep, I'm fine.
Okay, on that, with that, all in favor on the agenda? Opposed? Carried. Minutes. Motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on the 11th of 14 be adopted. Moved by.
I wasn't even here, so I know.
Seconded by Blumey. Discussion on the minutes. Councillor Spear, no. Councillor Blumey, no. Councillor Moore.
Nope, I'm good, thanks.
On the motion, all in favor? It's 3 in favor, Councillor Moore?
Yep, me too.
Motion is carried. Motion that the minutes of the public hearing held on August 11th, 14 be adopted. Moved by. Spear and seconded by.
Hey, I can second one.
Blumey. Discussion. Councillor Spear, no. Councillor Blumey, no. Councillor Moore?
Nope.
On the motion, all in favor? That's 3 in favor, Councillor Moore?
In favor.
Motion's carried. And just for everybody in there, we have a councillor that's phoning in, so we have to say things 3 times and whatever. There's no petitions, no delegations, there's no unfinished business. Item 7, recommendations for staff for decision. A motion that Development variance permit application, 1834th Avenue Planning Assistant. A motion that council approve the development variance permit application to vary the interior side setback from 1.8 to 0.15, a 1.65 meter variance in front side setback variance from 4 to 0.95, 3.05 meter variance for the property legally described as lots 2, 3, block 9, district 537, 2D district plan 683, and parcel A of lot 4, located at 1830 North Avenue. Is there a mover to that? Moved by Blooming, seconded by Spearn. Discussion. Blooming. Spearn.
No, I don't think there's any problems with it. You know, they're going to make some improvements to the home, and I think that's a positive thing for the community and for their family.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Moore.
Yeah, I'm in favor too. It just seemed a little odd to me in the pictures that it looked like the work was already started, and I'm wondering if that was the case or if that was something else. That's a question through the staff.
Yeah.
Your worship,
Ms.
he
Butler.
does have a building permit, and he was building within that building permit, but as he started to build, he realized he needed to change his plan. So he came forward with the variance.
Did you get that?
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay, on the motion, all in favor? Opposed? That's 3 in favor, Council Moore.
In favor.
Motion is carried unanimously. Request for council decision, this is B, development variance permit application of 2425 Leroy. Funding assistance recommendation that council approve a development variance permit application to vary the driveway width from 4 to 8 meters, a 4 meter variance for the property described as lot 17 and 18, block 32, section 35, township 9A, Kootenai Land District, located at 2425 Leroy Avenue with the following condition. A, that a 3 meter snow storage statutory right-of-way is provided. Is there a mover to that?
So moved.
Moved by Spearn, seconded by Blumey. Discussion. Spearn.
This is the driveway one, right? I'm
Yep.
just scrolling down to my pictures.
If I'm going too fast, let me know.
Yeah, likewise, I know I read all the correspondence, but, you know, it's already been done. And it sounds like they've had the variance, engineered or whatever appropriately, and looks great. But again, I guess my issue with it would be is, you know, why they ended up going ahead. I know it's in the report somewhere. Anyway, I don't have a problem with it. It looks fine, as long as the snow storage is not an issue in the winter. Then, you know, again, it's an enhancement to both the street and the home, and it's getting cars off of that very small street. So I think it's good. But, you know, I think that they should have got the variance before they actually did the work.
I think there was a bit of a miscommunication there, but I think
Yeah,
in the
fine.
end, the whole issue is that we got parking off the street.
Yeah.
As you stated, it looks great, and in the end, it's all great. Councillor Blooming.
No, that's fine, the logic was
Councillor
there
Moore.
as to why it happened.
Yeah, I mean, this one was kind of, it's come to council before, and it was a bit contentious in the neighborhood. I'm glad to see that this particular aspect of the project didn't get any, you know, comments from the neighbors, so I'm assuming that they're okay with it. I guess my question, and I think I had this question before, but now with the garage, and I think there's been a shed added too. I meant to go up and see it before I left town, I didn't get a chance to, but I'm just concerned, are they still within the proper lot coverage percent? That's a question through to staff.
Yes, they
Or have they exceeded that?
They are within that.
They are within.
Okay,
Well-
that's good. I have no problem with it.
Thank you. So on the motion, all in favor? That's 3 in favor, Councillor Moore.
In favor.
Motion's carried. Thank you. A request for decision on 3975 Red Mountain Road. A motion from, or a request from the planning assistant that council approve a DP application from Mr. Bruce Wolf with the property legally described as sublot 23, township 28, Kootenai District Plan X60, except part included in Plan 4697, DID 012733580, located at 3975 Red Mountain Road, subject to the following conditions: that the applicant meet the requirements for sedimentation prevention, drainage and erosion control plans, maintenance schedules, stormwater management, habitat management as described in the official community plan, section 33, development permit area 2, Red Mountain Schedule F, Topping Creek best practice management practices. 2, that the applicant follow the recommendations in the following report while completing the works. Environmental management plan dated August 6 of 2014 by Bear Environmental. And 3, that the applicant meet all geotechnical requirements as determined by the city as directed in section 33.3 of the OCP. Over to that.
Oh my goodness, what's wrong with this?
Moved by Spearn, seconded by
Sorry.
Blumey. Discussion, Spearn.
Well, you know, I actually was out on that property, earlier in the summer, and it was just by coincidence that the owner trundled along and introduced himself, so, I think he's got some further, project ideas on this, but this is basically, obviously, this is covering what he's asking for, and I think the conditions are satisfactory. I would expect that staff would recommend, I know it does say that council approves the development permit with additional conditions. I would expect that staff would suggest those additional conditions if they were necessary. So, you know, they're within that DP area. The regulations are strict. I mean, you know, he probably had no idea when he bought the property about how that all worked, but obviously he's found out. And yeah, I think it covers any concerns that I certainly would have on the environmental protection and within that DP zone. So I'm fine with that.
Thank you. Councillor Blumey.
Nope, that seems well.
Councillor Moore.
Okay, a couple things. Sounds like an interesting project, and I had the same comment that Councillor Spearn did. Is it looks like there's going to be more plans in the offing here. One of the things in that third condition that they need to implement geotechnical requirements by the city. I'm just wondering, how are we going to determine those requirements since we don't have a geotechnical engineer on staff? So are we going to pay for some sort of report to look at that? How does that work?
Ms. Claiborne.
If he gets a building permit, then that usually is when he starts to dig, and then that would usually mean that he has to get a geotech done in order to get his building permit. So that's usually what that means.
Oh, okay. And then in the application, it mentions that, you know, potential rezoning of the land. And do we have any idea what the future plans are on that? What's being anticipated?
Well, I think, Councillor Moore, I think that's not our role right at the moment. Our role right at the moment is to support or not support this plan because it meets with the OCP. Any further plans by the Mr. Wolf, whatever, would have to come to council.
Oh, sure, but I'm just wondering if there's been some discussion just to sort of see what we may be looking at. It doesn't have anything to do with the decision about the DP or not, but I'm just curious because it's mentioned in the application.
No, there isn't.
I'm wondering if staff knows.
No, there isn't.
And then, was that, Ms. Lightburn said that there wasn't anything further?
I could answer that there is not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and then there's also talk about trail construction, and I'm wondering if that is meant to be for public trail use? Is that what's being anticipated?
Ms. Lightborn indicated no.
No, not for public. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you very much. Any further? So I'll call the question on the motion. All in favor? 3 in favor. Councillor Moore?
In favor.
Motion is carried. Permissive tax exemptions. Motion that council approve the 2015 permissive tax exemption as presented. Is there a mover to that? Moved by Councillor Blumey, seconded by Councillor Spearn. Discussion, Councillor Blumey.
No, it looks like the same thing we did last year.
Thank you. Councillor Spearn.
Yes, I just, and I'm sure I ask this every year, but, the Jehovah's Witness Hall, is it actually used for religious purposes? Because it's been empty for some time, right? For sale. So, I'm just questioning whether they should actually have a permissive tax exemption if it's not being used for religious purposes, if the building is just sitting there vacant.
So as a vacant property, Ms. Bellers.
Your worship, it is still zoned for public institutional for the church.
Mm-hmm.
They occasionally hold meetings there, until they cease to be the owner. It is a church.
Okay. That could be questionable, however, so we might have to have further discussion on it. I mean, you know, it's $2,000, and $2,000 is $2,000 to the city. So, in my understanding, it's not used for religious purposes. So, in fairness, but you're right, it's zoned that way. So, And the other one I need clarification on is the Seven Summit School Learning. Remember, we separated those out, and there's only one, the actual school that's getting the exemption, not the living quarters, correct?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any further? Councillor Moore?
Yeah, I had the same concerns that Councillor Spearn did about the Jehovah's Hall. You know, whether it's owned by a church is one thing, but whether it's used for religious purposes is another. And I would say if they're not using it for religious purposes, regardless of who owns it, we could deny that. These are permissive tax exemptions, and you know, I don't know. I mean, that'd be a question through the staff. Are we within our rights to deny that, given that it's not being used for the purpose that we're giving the exemptions for?
Certainly, the reason permissive tax exemptions come to council is we are within our right to deny them. Second of all, as mentioned, the property is zoned as it's zoned. Thirdly, I'm not sure if you're aware, perhaps there's some other use that you are aware of being used at the Jehovah's Witnesses Hall. I'm not sure of that. But the Jehovah's Witnesses Hall has been and is, or has been, allocated a permissive tax exemption for quite some time now, and I would think that if the use of the hall were to become something different, as I said, perhaps you know something I don't, then we could change that. But as it is now, the hall is being used, to the best of city's knowledge, as a place of worship. So, anything further, Councillor Moore?
Well, I certainly couldn't say that I know that. My understanding is it's an empty building that's not being used for religious service. I don't think it's being used for anything. I mean, in the past, we've given the exemption because the Jehovah's Witness people had come forward and said they were using it periodically, but then my understanding was it hasn't been used. I don't know that. That's worth a question asking them, I guess.
Well, certainly, if you wish to deny the permissive tax exemption, you can do that by a motion.
Okay, well, I'll make the motion that we deny it based on staff following up, and if they're using it, we give it to them, but if they're not using it, we deny it.
I'll second that.
I'm going to ask Ms. Butler. I don't know how we do
Your
that.
Worship, we're just gonna pull the application, because in their application, they have to declare whether they're using it or not.
And there are,
Just 1 second, please.
sorry.
Can you say that again,
We're
please?
just pulling the
Oh.
application, because within the application process, they do have to declare.
So in the application that they provided us, it
Yeah.
would declare that. So we're pulling the application right now, Councillor Moore,
Okay.
hence the rustling of papers.
Your Worship, in the application, it says that they're having group sessions and Bible discussion.
So the application states, Councillor Moore and Councillor Spearn, that it is being used for religious purposes. So on the motion,
Fair enough.
moved by Moore, seconded by Spearn, that it be denied. On the question, or I'll call the question, all in favor? Opposed?
I'm in favor.
3 opposed, thank you. We knew that. Pardon?
Wednesday voice.
All right, moving right along. So that's the only one under the permissive tax exemption, correct?
Yep.
So then, we need a motion to, we don't have that yet, do we? We need a motion to approve the 2015 permissive tax exemptions as presented. Moved by Lumi, seconded by Spearn. Any further discussion? Councillor Moore?
Nope, I'm good.
Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That's 3 in favor, Councillor Moore.
I'm in favor.
Motion's carried. Item E, request for council decision, establish a transfer reserve bylaw, and reserve policy. The acting chief financial officer, who is in our midst today, but I don't know if we need her input for a minute. Anyway, is there a motion that council approve the reserve policy? I'm going to go one at a time on these. Is there a motion?
I make a motion there.
Moved by Moore, seconded by Spear. Discussion, Moore.
Yeah, I am really happy to see this come forward. You know, our municipal auditor's been recommending it for several years. I really appreciate the acting CFO getting this done, and I think it's going to be really helpful in our budgeting, help for long-term management of funds, projects, provide transparency to the public. Very well done. I'm in total favor.
Councillor Spear.
Ditto. And thank you, and
Counselor Blooming.
kudos to our acting chief financial officer. And it's been a long time coming. Thank you.
Thank you. On the motion, all in favor? 1, 2, 3 in favor, Councillor Moore?
You bet.
Motion's carried. Is there a motion that the transfer reserve fund bylaw be read for a first time? Moved by Spearn,
moved.
seconded by Blooming. Discussion, Spearn,
No,
Blooming,
it's all great.
Moore.
Yeah, I think that is great. Let me see, I had a couple notes here. No, that's great.
Okay, on the motion, all in favor? Opposed? That's 3 in favor, Councillor Moore?
In favor.
Motion's carried. A motion that the reserve fund bylaw be read for the first time. Moved by Blooming, seconded by
I'll second it.
Moore. Discussion, Blooming. Councillor Moore.
No, I'm good.
Councillor Spearn.
No, it's all great.
On that, all in favor? 3 in favor, Councillor Moore?
Yep, in favor.
Motion's
Oh,
carried.
wait a second. Can this doesn't impact my vote, but just a question. In the water capital reserve, it said that borrowing should be avoided, but there was nothing in the fund. But I'm thinking someday we'll have to replace the water treatment plant or increase the size of the reservoir or something. Shouldn't there be something allocated to unknown future capital water projects?
I don't know if we can allocate things to the unknown, but I think that your comments will be heard by staff, and thank you.
Okay.
Moving right along. So we're all good on that one, eh? Saying, you know, Abel, we're good there? Yeah.
Oh, you can just put a little bit on this one because I got notes all over the place because.
Oh, which one?
I just.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all right. A motion that or a recommendation from the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, Corporate Officer, that council direct staff to renew the lease with ILO's Play School for an additional year at the rate of $350 per month, $2,800 a year, with an option for a 1-year extension. Is there a mover to that?
For one?
I'd like to make a different.
Oh, let's just see if we got a motion there, please.
Okay.
Well, I just kind of have some different things too, so I don't remember.
Can you read that
Yeah,
motion again
yeah.
real quick?
The council directs staff to renew the lease with ILO's Play School, the Play School,
Mm-hmm.
for an additional year at the rate of $350 a month, $2,800 per year, with an option for a 1-year extension. Is there a mover to that?
Well, I hate to not move it, and then we'd have to be some conversation about it, but if we don't move it, then this particular motion isn't gonna get any conversation to maybe change it, or make an amendment, or another
So
motion.
let's just see if there's a motion.
Jody, do you want it? No? Well, I'm not gonna get a seconder anyway if
All
I
right,
do.
there's no
Okay,
motion.
I'll second. Is somebody gonna make the motion? I'll second, and then I'll say my comments that I wanted to say.
Well,
Is that how you wanna do it?
One of the
I will
hardest
move it.
things about having a counselor sit in the phone like that is that you're not aware of what's going on, and it's very difficult to run a meeting. Anyway, there is a
what?
mover, and there is a mover.
It's not
Okay.
about that, it's about how many people aren't here, that's the problem. Okay, I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Spearn, seconded by Councillor Moore. Discussion, Councillor Spearn.
Okay, so I do actually feel that, and I actually sent a few questions to our deputy CAO that were late, and I apologize for that because I was reading right up until the meeting. The weekend was busy. But I honestly believe that we have increased costs, whether it's utilities or cleaning, staff, etc. And if costs are going up, then I honestly think that we should be increasing at a reasonable amount, whether it's 2%. And I know that we did increase Ms. Schubert's lease last year. But I kind of wanted to see the history of it for many years. So I know for a long, long time she had no increases. That's my understanding. And, we're trying to be fiscally responsible, and I think in all fairness to the community that we really need to keep up with the cost of living increase, because otherwise we fall behind, and at some point, taxpayers are bearing the brunt of that even more. So I actually I prefer the second motion, I think it is, yeah, with a kind of well, or a consumer price index increase, but I'd be happy to hear from other councillors. And there was a little bit of redundancy around the email that Ms. Laura Pettit sent with regards to her cleaning duties, and within that contract with ILO, it says that she's responsible for garbage and the waste, but yet the contractor for cleaning up that area also said that she deals with the waste. So that was a little bit of a conflict, so I wouldn't mind some clarification on that. But I think that, you know, reasonably that costs need to go up a little bit, but she provides an enormous service to our community, and I'm a advocate obviously of education, but especially of early childhood education, and you can't put a value on the cost of having that service to our community other than it's very, very awesome. So that's all I'll say for now.
So I think that's
But
quite,
I'm
quite
saying-
interesting that you recognize, and so
Yeah.
you should, the value to the community.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. Second of all, if the person that has the janitorial contract has a problem with that contract, then they should probably come to council, or come to the city and say, I have a problem with this contract, and perhaps we could adjust it. It is not,
Well, no, I think it's more that in the service agreement, it just states that. So I'm not saying that one is, superseding the other. I'm just saying that.
what I'm saying,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that we have a janitorial contract that's done by the city,
Yeah.
and that contract is done by the city. Councillor Moore.
Yeah, I have some of the same concerns that Councillor Spearn does. For one thing, we can't be, as a local government, we can't be in the position of supporting a private business, right? Unless there's, some sort of mitigating factor, like if her her play school program was set up to serve lower income families, for instance, if there was some sort of means testing and she was able to offer discounted rates to families because she got discounted rental space from us, that makes a lot of sense, but I don't think that's the case. And also, as a matter of just good policy, we should have a small increase every year that at least covers cost of living increase at 2.4. I think it would be better to have, the increase be 3%, because if you do it 3% every year, it's a small amount, but as Councillor Spearn said, we don't fall behind. So I think that's important that we do that. I too recognize the benefit to the community. I mean, there are lots of people looking for daycare, but we don't want to undercut some of the private people who are providing daycare by supporting, the other businesses providing daycare by supporting a private business that just happens to be located in one of our buildings. So anyway, I did ask a number of questions, and thanks to Ms. Butler for answering them. That did help. But one of the questions that I didn't ask was what rates were the rates that ILO's charge competitive with the other daycare services in town, and I don't know that. Maybe her rates are lower.
Ms. Butler.
Your worship, ILO's Play School is not a daycare, so you can't relate the two together. Hers is actually a preschool. It's not a daycare.
Did you get that?
No.
ILO's is a preschool, not a daycare.
Okay.
Sure.
They are not, you can't relate the two. Just a minute, please.
Well, I think you probably could, actually.
Well, maybe you could, but.
I mean, we're talking about children who are preschool age, right? I mean, some of the daycares are. I mean, I'm not following the distinction.
Well, I think perhaps maybe you could make a motion that we do some means testing for the children that go to ILO's, sorry.
No, I think my motion would be, I mean, that's telling her how to run her private business, right? I don't think that would be an appropriate motion. I think a more appropriate motion would be that we renew for a year, but that we have a 3% increase, or some other percentage if council, has some different ideas about that. That would be what I would suggest.
You have the table, so make the motion.
We have a motion on the table.
We've already got a motion on the table.
Sorry, what is it, please?
The original one.
Just 1 second.
The original motion is $350 for the first year with an option to renew for 1 year. I just want to mention that ILO is planning on retiring. She was actually planning on retiring this year, but she had so many people come to her and ask her, please don't until you find somebody else to take over your business. So that is why she is doing it for another year. She has 2 classes a day, one from 9 to 11, and then another, I believe, from 1 till 3. She does not look after children all day long. They simply come. She runs an educational program where they do reading, art, and a variety of other things. I would suggest to you that a daycare is where you take your child to be looked after on an all-day or at least a half a day when you're at work, and that's not really what ILOS is all about.
Spear.
Thank you. You know, I can clarify that, both of my children went to ILOS, and it is a play school. That is the name, and it is not, a daycare by any means. It's a place where kids go and learn and interact and learn social skills and crafts and all of the great things that ILO does. And if you ask anybody about ILO's play school, they would have nothing but kudos and accolades for her program. Not to say that because it's in a city facility that there shouldn't be some increase. My, I guess, question, and they were late, was about the utilities. And the lease amount in the report says that it goes to offset the utilities. So maybe we could have further input about it.
Your Worship, the issue with the quoting the utilities is only on 1 meter for electricity and gas for that whole building. So it's really hard to sort of judge how much goes out through the ceiling and how much goes out through the basement. For gas, last year, $3,800. For electricity, $4,800.
For the entire building for the whole year?
For the entire building for the entire year.
Wait, can you repeat those numbers?
Gas, $3,800.
Oh, 38.
Okay.
And electricity, $48 for the entire building for the entire year. ILO turns off the heat or down to where Darren has told her to turn it down to when she's not in there, and then she only turns it up for those 2-hour segments that she's actually running her classes. So she really tries hard to make sure to conserve as much energy as possible.
Okay, the motion is that, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so, actually I do have one question through to staff, but then I'll need to talk afterwards, please. What is the square footage of that area? Of ILOS, please, thank you.
Sorry.
Approximate, I've never been down there.
Big.
400? You go at 400?
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's actually less than I expected.
Yeah.
Okay, so just, we have to be careful that we're not using city taxes to basically subsidize a private company, even though, I mean, there's no doubt there's lots of value to the community in this company, just as, I mean, there are many different companies in town, but, you know, perhaps this one would be closer to the heart of a lot of people because of the, you know, by virtue of what it is, but nonetheless, it still is, basically, we can't find ourselves in a position to be basically subsidizing rent to a private company. Now that I know it's only 400 square feet, that actually makes me think that we are closer to in line with Roslyn commercial space kind of rental properties, the same type of market that every other business is dealing with in this town. So I need to, in order to vote for it though, I would like to see a bit of an increase, whether we decide that I would be in favor of more than just that 2.4%, but now that I know a bit more about the size and all that, it doesn't need to be very much more.
How big is this room, would someone estimate?
Ms. Laybourne would know that in
This
off the
room?
top of her head.
Come on, you're the planner. 250 this? 250 square feet? Yeah, it's about, it's
Okay.
a time and a half. Well, we're kind of doing our math.
No.
Double, yeah. It's double this.
I mean,
So 500, 4,500.
yes, right on. So the motion is $350 a month with an option for 1-year extension. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Sorry? Hold it. I gotta tell Councillor Moore. Councillor Blooming.
I did actually have a question about that the option to extend for a year. I guess I don't really understand just how automatic is that option to extend for a year? What are the exact terms of that? What does that mean?
Ms. Butler?
Your worship, if she wishes to extend for 1 year, we would come back to council.
Mhm.
Oh. Okay, I wasn't sure if it would skip council or
No.
if it meant comes back to council.
No contract skip council now.
Okay.
I have another question,
Okay.
sorry to beat this with your,
Okay, just wait till,
No, that was it.
okay. Counselor
Can I make a comment on
Yeah,
that?
as soon as Counselor
Okay.
Spearn speaks.
yeah, I just, I guess I had a little bit of concern around the, with the possibility, one of my questions was about moving to the Francophone school, to L'École de Sept-Sommets. Was that part of the plan for the miners hall? Like, where did that fit in? 'Cause, yeah, I know the safety stuff, was it about that? Garen had concerns about, anyway, electricity.
Ms. Butler?
Your worship, I think that what's happening here is Ilo just wants to finish. She's
Yeah.
done 27 years in that location.
27 years.
She would like to just finish up,
I've done
over the
29.
next 2 years, 1 or 2 years in that location. And then after that, if there's somebody else that's gonna run a play school, that'll be up to them to negotiate whether it's that space or it's better for them to go to another option.
Thank you.
Or perhaps another community. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none. On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? There's one in favor, Councilor Moore.
No, opposed.
No, I'm opposed.
I know, there was
Oh.
one in favor. That's
You?
what I- Yes, I had to say that.
Sorry.
Gosh, that's because of this thing.
I never see you, vote, though.
Okay, the motion is denied. Is there another motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we renew the contract with a 3% increase.
Seconded by?
And an option to renew next year too. That's the same thing, just add the 3% increase.
Yes.
Me.
Got it? Seconded by Blumey. Discussion? I don't know if we have to beat this up anymore. We've had it.
Well, I'm good with it.
Okay, Blumey?
Yeah, 3% is pretty small, but yeah, let's do it.
Spears?
I'm fine with it. I would have
Okay.
gone for 2.5, but I'll go for that for sure.
On the motion, all in favor? 1, 2,
Okay.
3 in favor, Councilor Moore.
Me too.
Motion is carried. Request for council decision on consulting engineering services. Request for proposal awarding of contract manager of operations. The council award consulting engineering services 5-year master standing offer agreement to ISL Engineering and Land Services, and that staff proceed with drafting the contract for council's approval. Moved by Councilor Blumey, seconded by Councilor Spear. Discussion, Councilor Blumey.
No, I think this is a thorough report.
Thank you very much, Councilor Spear.
Yes, I also think it's a thorough report, and we had, access to all of the documentation, et cetera. ISL has been our go-to engineering company, and I think they have served us well, particularly on the Columbia, Washington revitalization downtown. There was a couple of quirky things there that I'm not going to bring up because it had to do with past employees.
Quirky.
Untoward, maybe is a better word.
Quirky, I like that better.
Okay. I really like their philosophy and their values and their presentations. I think and I'm going to say this because I've said it before, and I know people say, well, that's the way it is. And I asked for the actual criteria sheets from the people who were on the committee, and I was sent those, and I looked at those, and I really think that there's a better way to do that. And I know that's kind of the industry format, but you know what? It would be a lot easier, because when you look at those criteria sheets, they're all over the map with points that are a couple up here, a couple down here, etc. When you're marking something out of 20, being a teacher, it's a lot easier to mark something out of 5 with 5 criteria and define clearly each one, what the 1 means, the 2 means, and so on. And then if you want to make that 20 points, you just multiply it by 4, do your grade 4 math, and you get a magic number. Because, it's a little bit subjective, depending on who's sitting there making those criteria sheets out. And to be honest, they need a title, they need where that office is. Some of them wrote on there, some of them didn't write on there, so they were really hard to understand also. So I would be happy to sit down and share my ideas about that. I don't intervene very much with staff work, but I think that there's a better way to do that so that we are more accountable when we make this decision. But I do agree that ISL deserves a contract. That's all I have to say.
You second that? Yes, you did.
No.
You moved it, you seconded it, you have no discussion, Councillor Moore?
Okay, I read the other proposals, and a lot of them looked good too. And now I'm hearing that Councillor Spearman got the criteria sheets. I don't know if they were sent out to all of us. I've been traveling, so I didn't see if they were. But
Where you at?
Did you send it today?
Oh, you just think I'm on the other end of the phone at home, huh?
No, where are you, really?
No, I'm in Vancouver.
Oh,
Yeah. But I'm just, my question through to staff is what made this proposal stand out? What are staff's reasons for selecting them? Because some of the other proposals look really good as well.
There is in the criteria sheet.
I'm
Your
gonna
Worship,
ask
yeah,
that to
that
Mrs.
was
Butler, I mean.
spelled out in the criteria sheets, and each of us had, different reasons why they stood out.
Well, what were some of the reasons?
They're in the criteria sheets.
I would
Oh, I
say,
got them right here.
Did those get sent to all of us?
Pardon me?
Cost,
Did those get sent to all of us?
yeah.
Yes?
Okay, I didn't get a chance to see email today, so that's.
Well, maybe it's the Vancouver thing.
No, it's not the Vancouver thing. I just have been on the road. Okay.
Sounds like Willie Nelson,
Just
Anyway.
long as I don't look like him, I'm okay.
on the road again.
Yeah, okay, well, that was just the thing. I mean, I know I mean, ISL looked great, right? But so did the others. So it was interesting to me as the decision-making process happened, which council wasn't involved in and staff was. It would just, I'd like, when staff makes this kind of I would like them to be able to articulate the reasons why, as opposed to just say, well, we said it was great, so here you go. To me, that doesn't give us any ammunition or whatever, any sort of strength of position to say, well, we chose ISL because of this. Our position is we chose ISL because staff did. And that, I mean, to me, as a council, I think we should know the reasons why staff thought they were better than the others, right?
Perhaps then, Ms. Moore, you could get involved in staff dealing with this process. Staff has gone through this process as they've done in the past for a long time, and they've evaluated the thing. It's all been presented to council, and I'm not sure. If you wish to be involved in the day-to-day operation and make these decisions, then you should just ask
No,
that.
no, you're
But right now,
misunderstanding me.
sorry,
I think you're purposefully misunderstanding me. I think when staff is making a decision like this, because staff is, for them to come to us and say, we think ISL is best, so approve it, which is basically what we're given here. I think they should be able to say, we think ISL is best for these reasons. To me, that's just so then we have the benefit of their expertise of why they came to that decision. That's all I'm saying. It's like it could be, 3 minutes or less, right? But that way, it's their decision is, explained to us. That's all I'm asking for.
Ms. Butler.
Your Worship, I would say it was because, out of the 4 of us, which included a counselor who evaluated the, proposals, that ISL was the highest scoring in all of the evaluation points of those, I believe it was 6 proposals. I mean, and each one of us would score differently for different reasons. You'd have to look through the evaluation sheets to see who scored what.
But they're public. Well,
they're not public.
They're not, because there's proprietary
The
information in the
proposals are
proposal.
confidential, correct. But
Does
that
that
would be
answer?
why.
Does that answer your question?
No, that's basically just saying the same thing, is staff picked them because staff thought they were best. What I'm saying, and I don't want to belabor this because we're not going to get this tonight, right, obviously, but I just think when staff comes to council expecting us to approve their decision, it's like, if we just say, yeah, okay, great, rubber stamp, away you go, that's one way to make decisions. Another way to make decisions is to be able to say, well, we understand why staff thought these guys were best because of these reasons. And that information, yes, okay, now I know I can go read the criteria sheets, which were sent to us today, and then I'll understand, which is fine. But I'm just thinking in terms of process, it seems it's kind of empty to me. It just is empty, that's all I'm saying. I mean, I know all of the firms that presented their proposals were very qualified, they were, they're all of that stuff, I read them too, right? Yeah, they're great, but I'm curious, just what made this stand out. And now what I'm hearing from staff is that, well, everybody had their own reasons. Well, everybody has their, that's kind of like, you say something to your mom, and your mom says, because I said so,
Mrs.
right?
Moore, Miss Moore, seriously, this is normal procedure that's happened for a long time. There was a counselor involved in the evaluation process. It was evaluated based on criteria that we council determined, and staff made a decision and made a recommendation. If you don't like the recommendation, counselor, say so. Just say so. You can make a motion, counselor, you can make a motion, and we can vote on it, and we can proceed from there. To say that somehow this is some kind of a clandestine attempt not to give council information is not true.
I'm not saying that.
Well, what I'm saying, counselor, is if you don't like the recommendation, say so, and we can move on from there. Counselor Spearn.
That is not what I'm
Counselor
saying.
Spearn.
No, hold on a
Counselor
second.
Spearn.
Granstrom, you are misinterpreting what I said.
Counselor
All I
Spearn.
asked was that we get a justification. I didn't say I didn't like the recommendation. I'm just curious why we got it. That's all. Don't misinterpret me and don't twist my words.
First of all, it's Mayor, Mr.
Sorry.
Granstrom, or Chair, whatever you like. Granstrom is not appropriate. Second of all, as Chair, Ms. Spearn had the floor, and she will have the floor now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so the criteria sheets were available in our Deputy CAO's office, and that was prior to tonight, and that was in the information package or whenever we got some documents, and so they were available. I didn't have the opportunity to drop in and look at those, so I did ask, and they were sent out. And again, what I would say is that, and I would support some of the things that have been said here by staff, is that there are six criteria on those sheets. And, again, I don't really like the way the sheet works, but on all of the sheets, it does, ISL pretty much comes out on top for the various criteria, and each person who did evaluate had their own input onto the criteria sheets on all of the engineering firms. So ISL did come out on top, but again, my problem with the criteria sheet is that it needs to be a little bit less, it needs to be more objective, and it could easily be done with a different point weighting system, and they could be presented to us in a little bit more organized manner, so all of the ISL, all of the XXXX and other engineering firms, and for us it would be easier to read and understand. So it's just a tidying up process, I believe, but ISL did come out and there were some good comments on them. You'll have to go through them yourself to look at those, because it's not my job to read those out right now.
Thank you. On the further discussion on the motion, hearing and seeing none, on the motion, all in favor? 1, 2, 3. Councillor Moore.
Yep, I'm in favor.
Motion's carried.
Can I add one comment? I looked in my email here. I see I never saw the questions from Jill. I saw Ms. Butler's response, but never saw the questions. So, I don't know, they look to be cut off at the bottom.
Councillor? Thank you. Moving
You're
right
welcome.
along. 9, information items. The motion to receive the information items. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Correspondence from the Roslyn Curling Association. Ms. Butler, I'm not sure, there's no staff recommendation there, so how do you think that, or
Your
let us know what you
Worship,
think.
Based on the fact that it's a 70% recovery, we felt that their proposal was fair. The arena, the actual hockey arena side of it does far less than that. So they're actually doing a really good job of that cost recovery. And I think that the club is having a bit of a rebirth. They've had a change of the guard a little bit, and they're really trying hard to promote curling in Roslyn and get things back up and running.
So we would maybe entertain a motion to
Accept their letter.
accept their letter with their request?
Yeah, how come there isn't a motion?
I know, so that was my thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, I read the whole thing, just let me get there and then,
I think they want it for 5 years or something.
They're asking for a 5-year with
Yeah.
1% increase.
all right, so I think we'll just go there. Is there a motion that we offer the Curling Association a 5-year agreement with a 1% increase per year for the 5 years? Is there a movement to that? No? Given the fact that we have a 70% recovery rate?
But we
Yeah.
don't.
Yes, we do.
Well, if you look at the, wait, I'm
Did you wanna make a motion,
misunderstanding.
Counselor? Let's make a motion,
Well, no, I have a
let's make a
question.
motion before we have a discussion, as normal.
Okay, well, my motion will be that we have a...
Counselor Bloomy's first, sorry.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
I move that we receive the correspondence, that's all I can.
I'll second that.
Motion to
I second
receive and
it.
seconded. All
Okay,
right.
so I
No
came
action.
here.
Just a sec, there's no action on receipt, so we'll just vote on receipt. And then we
Oh.
can have action after that.
You're right.
Okay, on the motion to receive, all in favor? 1,
This
2,
is-
3, that's fine, that's fine. 3 in favor, Counselor Moore.
In favor.
Motion to receive is carried. Counselor Blumey.
Okay,
Sounds like
so-
the regional district, that's what they do all the time. Anyway, go ahead.
I came here, being that it was here presented as correspondence, I assumed that we were receiving it as correspondence, and so that's all I really came with in mind to do, so I wouldn't feel comfortable making a decision on, 'cause there are a few things here that I would have looked up had I thought we were making a decision like that.
I think maybe then we can refer to staff.
I'm not sure what you're
timeframe?
gonna want, I need some kind of direction, because
we don't have a motion.
what they're asking for is they want their lease renewed for 5 years with a 1% increase.
And
That's
a
what they're
letter.
asking for.
So even if we were
And
to
if-
refer it back, that won't change.
That won't change,
Yeah.
so if
Unless
there's
we say-
something else you want, then I need to know what that is. If you want a 3-year lease at a 5% increase or something like that, then I can go back to them to negotiate, but this is what they're coming forward with.
Counselor Blumey.
You know, I guess I just,
Sorry, Joe.
No.
if
Fine.
I thought
Good.
that we were deciding to actually do this, there are just certain things that I would have looked into and looked up, so really all I need is time.
Hmm.
I don't need it necessarily referred back to staff, you know, it is what it is. But- So, that is to say, if it could come back then, or, it feels really out of context right now, I guess. I can't make a decision without placing context on it myself.
Okay, so then what I would suggest is there's not a mover to renew the lease for 5,
Okay.
at 1% from your position.
Well, I mean, I am prepared, just because when I read the letter, and I understand, because it was receiving the correspondence, but, you know, they are asking for a 5-year term and an annual increase of 1%, saying, you know, that they've had 3% increases, and that's in excess of the cost of living, et cetera, so, you know, I kinda came with, you know, an idea, but, or, which could be a motion, but, if council, if we don't have everyone here on the same page with the understanding of, you know, the background and all the information that you need to look at, then, in all fairness, we shouldn't be making a motion tonight. And is it a problem to defer this or whatever till next meeting?
Your worship, it is a little bit, because
Okay.
we're right at the end of the month, and they start October 1st, and they need to get their...
Oh, yeah, it's September, oh,
I
right.
couldn't hear what Ms. Butler said.
Sorry. Yeah,
They start in October, and the ice is going in,
and we need an agreement.
so it really just...
Okay.
So what we could do is move, a lease term and a number for negotiations, so that we would have negotiations in place prior to the ice going in and all that. Does that sound fair to everybody? I mean, if you're uncomfortable saying 5 years at 1%, then say 3 years at 2%, or whatever the number is,
Mhm.
so that we can negotiate. Is that, Ms. Butler? I don't know how.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion then.
Yes, please.
So I understand the concept of the 5-year term. We are, as a council, at the end of our term, and I know we don't base all our decision-making on the fact that, you know, November, you know, there'll be some changes, potential changes, I'll say. But I just thought 5-year term at an annual increase of only 1% was not in line with what I think the increase should be. In all fairness, I mean, they are working hard. You can see their revenues have gone up, you know, 10,000 or so from whatever, 2011, 2012, so they are working hard, and I appreciate that. But you know, we've still got cost to the city, and I don't really understand the 70% cost recovery piece with regards to the total cost to the city, so I did really actually want to have some more time to think about that. But I would make a motion that, you know, we just go to a contract for like 2 years at 2%. That'd be my motion.
Moved by, seconded by. Did you want to second that, Mrs. Moore?
Well, I'll second it for discussion, but I don't agree with it, but I'll second it.
All right, Councilor Spear's spoken to it, so Ms. Moore, go ahead.
Okay, well, I have a couple of issues here. For one thing, they're talking about they say the 3% increase exceeds cost of living of 2.4, which is true, but that's an overall cost of living increase. If you look at the real factor for the curling rink, it's labor and energy alone has increased 6.7% annually. If you see that chart that was given to us by staff in connection with ILOs. So I don't know what the labor increase has been, but surely it's something. They say they get a 70% cost recovery, but the staff report, if I'm reading it correctly, it says it's a 56% cost recovery. Because if you look at that chart on page 122, the first box is the Roslyn Curling Club. The second box is the overall arena, right? The entire recreation center, total revenue, right? So, you know, we look at the curling club contract, that's what's gone up, but that's what we legislate, right? And then you've got all those, you know, those other factors, and you look at the cost as a percent of revenue is 44%. So, you know, I don't know where the 70% comes from, unless I'm missing something here, right? They may use different numbers than the staff report, but...
I'll get Ms. Hunter to explain.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, so the curling club numbers there are on their own. The percentage is just something I was just putting in there just as a percentage of revenue, so it doesn't necessarily... With cost recovery, it's kind of, we don't actually recover all our costs. The recreation centre does not include the curling club within that. That's the everything else. That's not the curling club.
Wait, so that cost as a percent of revenue number along the bottom there, that's not just the curling club?
There's the curling club percent, so if you look at the 13-14 season, the 6,171 is 33% of the 18,746. So it's just purely the cost to the city divided by the revenue. That's just purely for the curling club. The one underneath it is everything else, not including the curling club. So the actual total cost to the city is 162,000, and that's 177%. Doesn't really mean much. It's just a percentage of the revenue. Just trying to give it some kind of proportion. That's all.
Okay.
The cost. So the cost, may I?
Okay,
Well, maybe we need, you know, maybe.
Well, we have a motion right now, and we can defeat that one as well.
So I didn't quite finish what I wanted to say, was that again, I think we need to, you know, get small increases where we can, right, just being responsible. And also, I'm just wondering about the timing, like what are the dates of their contract? Is their contract start on October 1st?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To September 30th.
Yes, that's already been explained.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
October 1st to September 30th.
October 1st to September 30th.
Okay, I didn't hear it, that's why
I'm clarifying that for you.
Okay, thank you, that's
You're
very kind of
welcome.
you. Okay, because that was, what I was going to suggest is that, okay, let's refer it to budget discussion. Let's leave it under the same terms for now. I mean, this contract is always going to be a problem because it comes before we have our budget discussion. So let's just let the contract carry through for the start, and then when we do our budget discussion, I don't know, that might not work though, because they've got to set their fees, don't they? Yeah, I don't know, it's a problem.
Not everything fits the budget discussion.
It is not really that big a problem. I mean, we can set the rate right now and say, let's go to negotiation. This isn't a problem whether it's a budget or not, I mean...
Okay, well, let's set it for 3 years with 3%.
I think we have a motion.
I'm sorry, what's the motion?
I'm sorry, thank you very much. We have a motion, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd just like to hear it again.
Your Worship, the motion is 2 years at 2% per year.
2 and 2. Okay, I'm going to call the question on that motion unless there's more discussion. Seeing none, on that motion, all in favor? 1, 2, Counselor Moore.
No, I'm against.
I'm for. Motion's carried. Information items, did you get that?
Okay, I just speak, if I could, just to add, because, you know, we just talked about ILOs and we talked about 3%, right? And so, because they have had 3% already, I thought 2% was fair, like to kind of
Yeah.
make it equitable over the next few years, right? Otherwise, I would have suggested 3%, but that's my reason behind that.
Well, not only that, but they have a great cost recovery and they're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And they're putting money back into the arena, right?
Yeah.
Huge money back into the arena. Okay? Yes?
This is a service group taking care of our
The city
buildings for
facility,
it, not a
absolutely.
private company. So
Absolutely
it's a
right.
completely different scenario as far as I'm
It's huge
concerned.
difference,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and thank you. Information items, motion that the information items be received and acted upon as per the staff recommendations, subject to our discussions. Mover.
So moved.
Moved by Spear and seconded by Counselor Blumey, because you're smiling. Discussion, information items.
I and K.
I and K. Counselor Blumey.
Okay,
Okay, done. Counselor Moore.
B, C, and D.
oh, sorry, I need B also.
Which one?
I need B also.
Okay, well, B's coming up, so we're all good. Okay, starting right out with B. Counselor Moore.
Okay, so the museum service agreement, I sent some questions around to Ms. Butler, and I appreciate her answers. A couple of them I had a little more information I would like to get. One of them was on that 2.04 of the agreement. It talks about, no, you know what, I'm having trouble here because I have to have my notes in front of me and I don't have the thing in front of me. I'm just wondering, do we want to give the museum the right to hold fundraisers, concerts, or other events on the premises? Because they might not be directly related to museum activities, like museum activities are, you know, get people to come in, pay a fee, go see the museum, as opposed to these other things which they might want to do for fundraising events. So I thought maybe we should mention them. I'd throw that out there.
I don't.
It's not 2.04.
It's
Is it?
2.04, yeah. But anyway, your point is that should be included?
How come I'm reading
Yeah,
2.04?
because we don't say that,
They
we
would-
say they can do museum activities, they can collect revenue from museum
Oh,
activities,
right.
but we don't say that they can do all these other things that might not be directly related to, like holding a dance wouldn't be considered a museum activity, but it might be a fundraiser, you know?
Yeah, and they could always come to the city and ask permission.
Well, they could, but why not give them permission already,
Well,
right?
because the permission might be for something that we don't want to give them permission for.
Well, maybe. Okay, all right. And then the other thing was, I meant to write 2.05. I think I wrote 2.06 instead. But the way it's worded, I thought it might preclude them from holding fundraisers and collecting revenue to benefit capital projects, because it only mentions operations. So I thought we could add in capital. That would be helpful to them.
Same thing, if they wanted to raise money for capital, and it wasn't inside the agreement, they could come to council and ask for that. Ms. Butler.
Your worship, part of that is if they're going to do some capital project on the museum, it is our building and we have to approve that first.
Thank you. Anything further, Ms. Moore?
Oh, well, yeah, okay. I wasn't talking about the permission for the capital project itself, just the permission for holding fundraisers that would benefit capital projects, because the thing only mentions operations.
But we would have to approve those capital projects.
They have to be approved. Anything further?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I still had this one about ensuring the contents, and this was, my question was, why isn't the association responsible for ensuring the contents and the collections, because they own them, and you know, we own the buildings and we insure the building, and the response was the association runs the museum on behalf of the city. Well, that's true, but if that wasn't the point. The point is, if they own the artifacts, they should insure them. If we own the artifacts, we should insure them, just like we own the building. So I didn't find that
Yes.
answer helpful.
Ms. Butler.
Your worship, if the museum association didn't run the museum, those artifacts would default to us as the city. So that.
Okay, then we shouldn't say that they own them.
As long as they're running the museum, they do.
They have the
Because they are
responsibility.
operating the museum on behalf of the city.
Well,
But
Right,
that
I
is
understand
the
that.
premise of the contract and has been, as far as I know, for 19 years. So, if council wants to change that, they're more than welcome.
Well, it just seems inconsistent to me. If we own the stuff, we insure it. If they own the stuff, they insure it. But I mean, I understand you're talking about them running on a shoestring and all that. So if we're insuring, if we're insuring their goods, you know, it's just a little odd, that's all. But if no one else has a problem with it,
They aren't their goods. Anyway, Miss Fearon has.
Well, I was just gonna say, maybe we need to insert on behalf of the city, or just a simple little clause, and I don't even know what number on, because all the numbers that you guys are saying, my numbers aren't on the same, I mean, I got the contract, but seemingly I'm not reading it.
Well,
Anyway, whatever,
I mean, what is the,
section?
what is the
Your worship, in the
intent?
whereas
Yes.
clauses, it specifies that they are operating the museum on.
On behalf of the city of Rawson, yes, and they would default to us, so I,
Thank you. Anything further on B?
Yeah, I still have the other thing. The other comment was that in their contract, it says that they pay 50% of the utilities. The city pays 50% of the utilities when the museum's in a deficit, and that's a provision of the last contract. I didn't think the museum was in a deficit position, but you know what? They could be, right? I just don't remember their last. But if they aren't, right, then we either need to enforce that provision because it's in the contract, or we need to take that provision out and just say we're going to pay the utilities. But to say they only have to pay if they're in deficit, and then we pay whether they're in deficit or not, is, you know, I mean, that's just not living up to the contract.
Ms. Butler, can you respond
Your
to
worship,
that,
the premise behind that is if and when the museum is in a good position, perhaps if they get the funds to do all the renovations and upgrades that they are proposing, that maybe they will become more viable than they are now and be able to pay their power bills. But until that time, I would tell you that if they're not in a deficit, they're a penny away from being in a deficit.
Anything further, Councilor Moore?
Well, then maybe we should just take that clause out and just say the city's going to pay it, right? I mean, it's, you know, we're just, you know, no, forget it. I
Councilor,
realize
it's
I
there
realize
and
I'm
it's there
being-
for a reason.
Well,
I know you don't agree, but.
It was
Make a motion.
negotiated in the last time we did this, that, you know, the council wanted something in there so that eventually they would have to pay.
yeah.
So it took some time to get that negotiated in because it was, as you say, without having that clause before.
Yeah.
So then we had this clause put in, but that's up to council if they want to remove it now.
Okay. I guess my response to it is it's just floppy contract language. It's either like, let's just pay their utilities, or let's pay them when they're in a deficit. But,
Okay, Counselor,
you know,
thank you.
That's fine.
it's too mean to me, two
Asked
different
and
things.
answered. This is still on B. Councilor Blooming.
The exact wording of that clause, I need to have exactly that way, actually. I feel like that
The
exact.
wording is the way it should be.
Exactly the
Yeah,
way it
thank
should
you very much.
I need.
Why
to-
is that?
Because they,
No.
well, it's obvious, we've already said.
Okay, thank you very much.
But my other I mean, I've probably had a comment on everything we've discussed already, but it's not going to change my vote in the end. But just a little clerical thingy to me at the end here is, it says Roswick Public Library Association.
Your worship, we
and-
correct that, thank you.
Okay, I figured you probably would have.
Well done. So you're the wordsmith champion this week. Anything further on B? Moving right along, C.
Oh, that was mine. Supports the agreement. I'm really glad to see that the Helm Group recommendations will be incorporated into the roads contract. That was in answer to a question I asked, and I appreciate Ms. Butler's response. And also that there are some safeguards that the benefits to stakeholders will be enforced if they're not delivered. I think that's really important for the community to know, and I'm really glad that's going to be in the agreement. That's all.
That's standard in agreements, is it not? Thank you very much. Anything more on C?
It wouldn't necessarily be standard in the agreement because it was a consultant's report, so it was nice to hear that it is included.
Anything more on C? Moving right along. D.
Okay, Dee, that was me again. I find it odd that the city asked the society's lawyer for advice on the questions that I raised on the agreement, and we were supposed to be dealing at arm's length. The firm is obligated to protect the interests of its client, which is the society, not the city's interest. And according to the society's lawyer, the fact that our motion can't be enforceable on title is too bad. but, you know, at least we're getting a small amount of interest, and effectively we've kicked it down the road to the future council. So I guess that's as good as we can expect.
Did you have a point there, other than the fact that we got a legal opinion on this and it was all good?
Other than the fact that we got a legal opinion from
Yes.
the society's lawyer, who is not hired to represent the city's interest, I just find that odd. But that's my point, but there's no question.
Mr. Somerville is a very well-renowned land lawyer and contract lawyer, so I
And
think...
engaged by the society, not the city.
Ms. Butler?
Your worship, he had the most knowledge going into this, and it was the cheapest option for us to get information, and the information that he supplied to me was also run by our city solicitor, who confirmed the same.
Thank you very much. Anything further, Miss Moore?
Nope.
Thank you. That was D.I., which is the...
Me.
Yeah.
I had that one too.
Okay. Okay, well, I know Councillor Moore had already had some comments by email, but I'm sure she'll repeat them again. I just want to say that I am enormously ecstatic about the financial reports, and again, hats off to Ms. Hunter. The visual impact of the red and the black, some things are so simple yet so powerful, so I really appreciate that. I do have some questions, honestly, but I'm going to leave those to come in and just see you, just my own personal understanding. But I really find that very readable, clear, and very comprehensive. So I just wanted to, again, just pass on that I think you're doing a brilliant job.
Thank you very much, Councillor. That was well said. Councillor Moore?
Okay, I really appreciate getting the quarterly report. I think, and having it be year-to-date as of September 3rd is great. Something I've been looking for since Tim left in May of 2012, so it's really nice to have it. I think that having this report quarterly and having a discussion on it is going to be an excellent tool for, well, really the next council, because we're kind of at the end of this year, to keep on top of the financial plan. And it's really going to help the new council understand the budget so much better. I think it's going to help streamline the budgeting process. And also, I think it's really going to help the new council learn when to anticipate expenses that aren't linear, because it's not like we can take the year and divide it into 12 months. You know, we only plow snow in the winter, for instance. But there's a lot of things. I think that's going to be a really great education. And I really appreciate Ms. Hunter doing this and answering my questions. And, yeah, fabulous job.
Great. Thanks very much. Perhaps we could put that out in the information packages that we don't plow snow all year. That would be a good idea.
Are you making fun of me?
No, I'm just kidding, but it just sounded, no, we're all good. So that's K. All right, so on the motion, all in favor?
No, J, and then we have
K.
No one said J.
Oh, that was I. Oh, K we said. K came later.
Oh, yeah, youth action, sorry.
K came later.
Your worship, and I do apologize that that
No
agreement
problem.
was not in the packages. I'm hoping everybody received it.
Okay, recommendation to approve the agreement. That's
Well, I have a,
discussion on that. On
Yeah.
that one. Right, okay, yeah.
This is part of the information package, right?
Yep.
So, and I chose it, right?
Yeah.
So, couple things, the Neighborhood of Learning Committee has dissolved, so that is in the agreement, so if you could tidy that up, and I'm sure you would have without me asking you, it's in a couple of places. It refers to directed by the Roslyn Neighborhood of Learning Committee, and then down below, approved, by the coordinator of the Roslyn Neighborhood of Learning, so that because that committee has dissolved, that needs to come out. And my question therefore was, the approving officer, I'm assuming, will be the acting CFO?
Correct.
Correct, yeah?
And should it be Visions to Actions now? Who is
Well, I don't know,
coordinating this?
I got some questions about this whole deal here, to be honest, like, where's the funding, how is this coming to be, this contract, is what I need to know.
Your worship, we have received the next $25,000.
Okay,
From CBT, because a 4-year is $100,000 commitment.
right.
Based on every year, right? Every year we have to
Yeah.
supply the report. So
Mhm.
we have received the next 25,000.
Mhm.
I was unaware that the setup had changed, that there was.
Well, there is still a vision, there is still a VSS Society, of which they're having actually a general meeting tomorrow. Yeah.
Reporting to that VSS committee?
Well, I don't know that, that's why I'm asking here, so we need to,
I haven't been told anything differently.
No.
I don't honestly know, but I can find that out if you want me to pursue it.
We'll have to.
This is not ready to be signed.
Let's refer this to another meeting. I was not aware of that,
Yeah.
Your worship.
Okay, I think that would be appropriate to take K and
Yeah.
move it out of the motion and refer it to the next meeting,
Yeah.
okay? So that would be a
Yeah.
recommendation.
I,
to
yeah, 'cause I have
pass.
a few notes on here, so,
Okay.
and we just got it,
If
and
you
it,
could just, if you
Yeah.
could come and talk to me then.
Yeah, okay, so that's, okay, so that's the end of it, all right, so on the motion now, all in favor? 3 in favor, Councillor Moore.
Yep.
Motion's carried, thank you. Bylaws nil, members' reports, Councillor Smith.
I'm ready for one.
Ready?
No, usually I go, don't pick me. Okay. Ready and, okay, so I wanted to say, and this is maybe seemingly minor, but to me it was huge. If you remember, I asked Public Works to get some white lines painted out on the back road to Red, whatever that Red Mountain Road is called, right where the trail crossing is, and I don't know, but it was done really lickety-split fast, so, pass my, my appreciation on to Public Works, because it really does have a visual impact, and it's amazing how something so simple works so well. So thank you for that. Also, I was curious about how it went out at the reservoir after we did our so-called due diligence on security, et cetera, and how did that flow? How did it go?
Get that to staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your worship, it went really well. I think we spent 3 weeks total out there. We did the first week solid, and then we just sort of started picking times and dates, and it's been really, really good.
So it diminished even
It's
during the
diminished.
hot
It's,
period?
zero.
Oh, okay.
We've had no complaints since from the residents who live in that area, and one of our residents checks it
Okay.
daily.
And, okay, thank you. And I saw the cost in the financial, line statement, and that was just one cost, one total, like?
Yeah,
20
most of the
2,800?
very respectful.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, also we have the new, I wasn't here at the last meeting because I was away, but the new logo word mark on our correspondence, and I think it's working very well. The only thing I'd say is when the photocopying goes on or whatever, you gotta really make sure it's dark enough that the mountain's in the background, because maybe it's just, stuff that comes through our package, but you know what I mean? Because of the, shades or whatever that she used, yeah, it just needs to be a bit darker, and I don't know if we need her to change that. But anyway, it looks great. No piano's gone. So I'm really happy to see that. And thanks to the committee, which was Councillor Blumey, Councillor Moore, and myself. Golden City Days, great parade, tons of great events going on, beautiful weekend, and I think, as usual, we should send a thank you letter to the organizing committee and all the volunteers. Very successful weekend. Chamber of Commerce, we actually have our meeting tomorrow night, but a few things that have been going on. The Chamber has just moved to a new space on Washington Street, with a lot of help from the directors and the executive officers, which Ms. Blumey and Ms. Parker are. They negotiated a really good price for that space, and they're going to be there for probably 8 months. So they did a really good job of negotiating that contract to rent that. Ms. Parker, Julie Parker, has resigned as one half of the total executive director. She's moved on to another new and exciting job. We will miss her, but and tomorrow at our meeting we'll address the vacancy, and I'll come back to council with how that pans out. The Taste of Rossland, which is one of the big fundraisers, and one of the fundraisers for the Chamber, has been postponed, and they don't like to do postponing things because it doesn't look good. But it was supposed to be during Golden City Days, and so many of the businesses couldn't commit because they were too busy with other activities, so that's being moved forward to spring of 2015, so the Taste of Rossland. And the businesses are enthusiastic, but it just didn't work with Golden City Days, so that will be coming up. Ms. Blumey, Councillor Blumey, is going to travel to China in October with Trail and Castlegar Chambers. She's going to go over there to inspect how business works, and they're going to go over there and engage in some business networking. She'll be gone for about 9 or 10 days, and they're going to visit 3 cities, and I think it's a really neat opportunity for our Chamber Executive Officer to go over and see what connections they can make.
Cool.
So, yeah. The only other thing I wanted to mention that came up in the information package was the death of Jim Ogilvie, the mayor of Kimberley.
Mhm.
Do we send cards or condolences, or we just...
We haven't in the past.
No, okay. Anyway, I remember him, he was mayor for 36 years.
Oh, yeah.
And he won all the long time awards, but he was a really nice man. I remember him at the UBCM and chatting with him, and so, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we recognize his passing. And I think that's all.
Thank you very much, Councillor Blumey. Other than you're going to China, and you need a Norwegian interpreter.
Pretty much for free, I might add, actually, because it's an inspection trip, so the company organizes it, is sending me.
Cool.
Right, sorry, I should have mentioned that.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I was going to say that Golden City Days, I hadn't thought of the idea of sending a letter, so thanks to Councillor Spearing for that idea, because definitely in favor of that. What else was I going to add? I didn't put notes together this time. So we have the UBCM coming up in 2 weeks. So I'm looking very forward to that. Kind of plan on, kind of that last kick at the assembling information from all our council, municipal government colleagues out there to bring it back and absorb it into the city before we have to pass off the baton to another council. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm going to kind of drill extra hard at the networking aspects and making sure I bring back good information.
Thank you. Good. Councillor Moore.
Yeah, I've got a couple things. Councillor Spearn and I both attended the dedication of the new bike park down in Roskland, and that was a fun event. Mike Kent, the Youth Action Network coordinator, was manning the barbecue. There were a lot of kids and young adults there, and it was quite good. Also, I didn't hear if Councillor Spearn suggested this, but I think she did, to send a letter of thanks to the organizers of Golden City Days.
Yes.
Okay, because it was really outstanding. There were a lot of new vendors and events. The short time I was there, I was very impressed. Also, bring up again the Career Development Services fundraiser that they're doing on the 12th, the Coins for Change, Sleeping Under the Bridge. I donated, and I found out some more information. I learned from the organization that other municipalities have contributed, like Trail gives $15,000 a year, Fruitvale $7,500, Montrose $5,000, because they all recognize that this is a regional issue. I mean, our locals in need head down to Trail because that's where the services are. It doesn't mean that we don't have people in town who are, who suffer from poverty and homelessness. We learned that from the Women Creating Change program as well as this. And I'm thinking, hey, it is not too late. I would love to see us show a little regional collaboration. So I'm going to make a motion that we give $3,500 to this effort. If someone would second that. We might even be able to take it out of the council conference budget, because I think we have extra money in there. So that's my motion. Would anyone like to second that?
Well, you're running the meeting now. Would anyone like to second that?
Well, I'm on the phone. I can't tell that you're angry.
There's no seconder.
Well, I'll second it for discussion.
All right. Councillor Moore, then, please.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I've pretty much said what I want to say about it. I think the thing that we didn't discuss when Sheila Adcock and the other gal came was really the regional nature of this, and that there are, now that I've talked to her and I know she's serving a number of people from Roslyn, I feel like it's something that would be good for us to participate in, and plus it is a way that we can show some regional collaboration on social issues, and I think that makes us stronger as a region.
Councillor Spearn.
I don't disagree with the nature of the motion. I am empathetic to the social situation of poverty and homelessness. Unfortunately, they didn't have a presentation that outlined what you have just stated around the other municipalities, and usually when we have someone come asking for funding, that they give a presentation and then they actually suggest could you contribute, and that didn't happen. And I kind of you know, maybe they didn't have the, you know, they didn't know to do that. But however, I think, you know, I mean, maybe $3,500 isn't a lot of money, but, you know, let's face it, you know, Councillor Moore, you often speak to financial responsibility here at the council table, and I'd be willing to suggest that council donate some money, but I don't think $3,500 is, I mean, a number just pulling it out of the hat. There has to be some rationale for that number, and so, yeah, those will be my comments, and I would vote against $3,500 without some background or some basis for that number.
Thank you, and let me speak to that. Mental health and homelessness is the responsibility of the provincial government. We as municipalities receive 8 cents on every tax dollar. The province of British Columbia receives 42 cents, the government of Canada receives 50, and we receive 8 cents. Out of that 8 cents, we're expected to fund 66% of the infrastructure in this province. And while I empathize with those that are homeless, the municipality should not and cannot be responsible for initiatives that are the direct responsibility of the province of British Columbia. Further.
So, yeah, I agree with that. And what I guess I would really like to see is the regional district. I mean, if it's a regional crisis or a regional issue, then I think that the regional district, you know, maybe that could be a line item, and we could all contribute in a meaningful way, but with some kind of percentage or however the financial aspect of it would be. So yeah, I don't feel that this motion is fair, to be honest, right now. I don't mean fair to the social health of people that are in those situations. I'm totally empathetic to it, but I think if people want to donate, then that's different. But I think yeah, I'm not prepared to vote on that right now. Well, I'm prepared to vote on it.
Thank you. And the regional district is funded by the municipalities. Mm-hmm. So there's no magic numbers here. Mm-hmm. And you know, I think you all know how I feel about that. I made it pretty clear. You want to speak, Councillor Blooming?
Sure. I mean, I would vote against this, but again, for the same reason as normally for something like this. It's not to say that I'm not in favor, of course, that I'm not in support in other ways. Perhaps there would be, but it's not within proper responsibility of using city tax dollars to give towards a good charity, because there are so many other good charities. So how do you decide which one you're going to give to and which one you're not, you know? So it's just, we can't give to everything we want to give to.
And it has nothing to do with the regional cooperation. It has everything to do with fiscal responsibility. Mm-hmm. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if we have a homeless problem in this area, let's talk to the provincial government. Let's talk to the people that are supposed to fund this. Mm-hmm. I understand that everyone comes to municipalities and say, please give us 3,000 here, 2,000 here, whatever. I understand all that. I would do the same. But we, as a municipality, are responsible for what we have to look after. The provincial government is responsible for what they have to look after. And if we don't make the point, and if we just keep funding and giving money, what happens? Here we go again. Anyway, on the motion, Councillor Moore, you want to speak to it?
No, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. I mean, I understand the whole 8 cent thing and the 66% and all of infrastructure and all of that. And it's deplorable. It's really deplorable that the federal government cut funding of this program. Provincial government has not picked it up. You know, I mean, having the RDKB address it is the same as having municipal government address it. So, you know, but the fact remains there's people in need, you know, and so I just think that, you know, if there was some small thing we could do that would help, it would be good, and we wouldn't be, you know, I guess I'm just not as willing to draw that line in the sand and say, no, I'm not going to help people because it's not our job. If we can help in a small way, I didn't see the harm in it. But I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that while I'll vote for this, the rest of you won't, and that's okay, right? You know, there's other ways that we can support these efforts. I just think we should.
I think that's a very good point. There's other ways we can support these efforts other than people's precious tax dollars that we have to use for infrastructure. On the motion, all in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? 3 opposed, the motion is defeated.
Okay,
Anything further?
one other thing on my, members report. I just wanted to, say that I'm working with Thought Exchange on a project to gather community input and ideas for Roslyn in anticipation of a new council this fall. And it's a pretty fun process. I would encourage everyone to participate. And if you haven't gotten the link already, I can send it to you. It's also going to be printed in the paper and around town and stuff. But it's just an opportunity for all the citizens of Roslyn to talk about their concerns and ideas and what they want to see in the future. And I think everybody, citizens as well as people running for council, can benefit from it. It's just a fun way to engage the community.
Thank you very much.
That's it.
Thank you. I'm just gonna go a couple things. The Regional District Kootenai Boundary, number 1, you probably all heard and seen the bridge and sewer crossing stuff.
Did you send us?
Are there any questions on that? Because there was well, I'll just say a bit then.
Yeah.
The City of Trail wanted the Regional District Kootenai Boundary to contribute $5.4 million to their pedestrian bridge. The City of Roslyn made a motion that we would offer them $2.7 million for a negotiating point. Also, the City of Roslyn's motion was to proceed with $2.7 million crossing of the Victoria Street Bridge, the new bridge, as we call it, the new bridge. So there was 2 motions. One was to proceed with negotiations for the crossing of the Victoria Street Bridge at 2.7, and the other one was to offer Trail 2.7 for their pedestrian bridge.
Question?
Yeah.
So the 2.7 million for Roslyn.
No, for the regional district
Oh,
to give to the city.
that's just for the pipe,
That's,
right? Without the bridge.
we would give, well,
Yeah.
first of all, to get the pipe across the river,
Yeah.
we
was
moved
higher.
$2.7 million,
Yeah.
was a staff report, to go under present Victoria Street Bridge.
Correct.
That was the first motion.
Yes.
The next motion, City of Trail, if they wish, and apparently some of them wish, to build a pedestrian bridge, Roslyn moved, and it was carried that we offer the City of Trail $2.7 million
And the rest is them.
to give it to them for their bridge. And City of Trail, at that meeting, proposed $5.4 million that the regional district would pay towards their pedestrian bridge, and that wasn't carried. We offered them $2.7.
Very good. Good job.
Next.
More further to that. So, just for further clarification, so where would so they did a referendum. They had a referendum in Trail and about the pedestrian bridge. You know, I thought that was a little bit of the cart before the horse, but because then people got all excited. And and we're assuming, I mean, I saw things on social media about, we're going to have the walking bridge and blah, 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 when that really wasn't the case. It was just a referendum for their approval. Did that referendum have a number attached to it? Like up to, like, you know,
yes.
capital project?
Yes, their referendum on the City Trail website said that the regional district was going to contribute $7.4 million, but there was an asterisk.
Yeah.
A little tiny one above the 7.4, and if you read down the bottom, it said that the regional district had not approved it yet. But that 7.4 was put out as a number with a disclaimer saying that the regional district hadn't approved it yet.
But that was a regional district contribution, so that it's changed immensely via the motions from Rossland, so good job.
Yes, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you very much. There's another meeting coming up. Regional district meetings are 4 a month, as some of you might know. So, but Finance Committee's coming up, and as we all know, and has been reported here, the Regional Fire Service is looking to increase their operating budget by $1 million. That will be coming to Finance for budget discussions. Just to put that in perspective, that would make their operating budget, not capital budget, their operating budget, $4.6 million a year. And to put that in perspective, the City of Roslyn, the entire City of Roslyn operating budget is around 3.6. So that's going to be coming to Finance, and I can't stress this enough that we need and I'm glad to do it, but we need very strong representation at the regional district, because some issues that are coming down the pipe right now are unbelievable costs towards the City of Roslyn and our partners. And when I hear that we should cooperate and partner I think that we should. Unfortunately, some of our partners seem to think that the way you cooperate is with a checkbook, and I don't agree with that.
Could I?
Yeah.
So I did attend that, the East End Committee meeting at the
Yes.
Regional District, and it was a real eye-opener, and I did speak to the fire service, the idea of a training center and these exploding costs. And really, it's, it's no offense to, their idea about, building a training center and all, but I said, honestly, like, I was shaking, like, the costs are out of control on this. And we're sending down $500,000 a year as it is, and more.
Go to the fire service.
No, 500, yeah, just
Fire
fire
service
service,
only.
just for the fire service, sorry, yes. And I just, I was shaking because as a taxpayer, let alone a city councillor, I was just, it seems like it's just this exploding, out of control system, or whatever you want to call the regional district, and we do need representation there, so if you could just remind us of those meetings, and if we could try and be there, even to be in the audience and speak to it, because you get a chance at the end, I think it's worth it on behalf of our citizens.
Great, and I'll make sure that they're all, I remind everybody, they're all on
Yeah.
the regional website, but I'll make sure
I
to
think it's
remind
better if you
everybody.
just send a,
Yeah, I know, Oh, and just before you go,
Mhm.
I got, I've made a couple statements to a few press people, because at the regional district, amazing, there is no press there. None.
Yeah, which is
Millions of dollars
unacceptable.
of decisions, and no one's there. Sorry, and it's, Sarah, not your fault.
It's a good point.
Okay, I keep meaning to ask this or look it up, but why is it justified that, I mean, we have relatively few firefighters, I mean, compared to the grand scheme of things, and why is it considered cheaper to build an entire training center than to just send them away? What was sort of the cost recovery span of time? Or?
I asked for that, and they couldn't supply that, they didn't have it. I asked why we needed it, they couldn't supply it. I asked why do we need 4 more full-time firefighters, they couldn't supply it. I asked if this would decrease fire loss in our community, they couldn't answer it. I asked how they would be deployed, they couldn't answer it.
Wow.
Well, I remember that, I think, when I was at that meeting, you would know more because you're there, but they were stating that the cost to send them is expensive, and that they would attract, other firefighters to come to a training center, right? So it'd be like a learning center or whatever, right? So, you travel, you spend money in those communities, et cetera, right? If you're going for conference, or whatever, the training things they do, right? So they were thinking it would bring firefighters from other communities here to trail.
So,
Right?
But they
a source
talked-
of revenue.
Yeah, so, well.
Sorry. Well, they talked about partnering with Tech as well, so Tech would be a partner in the
Oh, I
training
see,
center.
right.
I just think that it's of note that the city of Creston, like the regional fire service here talks about, we as a volunteer force don't have interior attack qualified people. The city of Creston, Mayor Toyota told me a few days ago that they just certified 2 of their volunteer firefighters as interior level 2, which is a really high standard, and they send them to the JI Institute, and it's done within 2 weeks. So we have to be very, very careful what we do there. My only point. So I don't want to rant on the regional district too long, but it's an eye-opener. So I'll just leave my members' report as that at the time, and I'd like a motion to recess the in-camera committee of the whole, that the remainder of the meeting of September 8, 2014 be closed to the public pursuant to Section 91C, that is labor relations or other employee relations of the community charter. Moved by Spear and seconded by Looby. Discussion, all in favor? 3 in favor, Councilor Moore?
Yep.
Motion is carried. We will go in camera in a couple seconds. Thanks everybody for coming.